friends. Welcome back to Behind the Badge podcast here at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. My name is Todd Baxter. I'm the sheriff of Monroe County here with my partner, Tiz.
Hey.
Deputy Tisdale, how you doing?
Doing good. Back in the saddle again. Feels good.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? But getting back into it, I love the way we pick up to where we left off, like the break never happened.
Exactly. That's why we're a good family right there. And listen, draft, how did we do? How did Steelers do? I know the Bills did well.
Did they?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
They got a personality or two. I don't know if they're football players, but they're definitely entertaining on Twitter.
Must have been watching the draft with Jim Kelly or something.
Oh,
but anyway,
wow.
the Steelers did well.
How'd Pittsburgh do?
They did well. They did well. I was excited. I had a lot of things going on myself. Watching the draft, my son is his birthday this weekend, so I'm going down to visit my son in Ohio. You know, we got the same birthday, so we both will be celebrating this weekend.
Awesome.
So it's time to take off and spend time with the family. You know?
Absolutely. And the weather's a little better down there than it is here in the city, a couple degrees warmer.
I hope to God.
Yeah, that thing called the sun, I think it comes out once in a while down there.
I'd love to turn off my heat if I get a chance, if you don't mind.
Well, you are cheap. I know that. But you are cheap. But hey, we're going to leave that up to the side. Today we're talking about commercial vehicles and commercial vehicle inspections. I don't know, most people don't realize we have a unit that does that here in the sheriff's office. But I always like to proceed these messages out, especially when we're talking about commercial vehicles, realizing that, you know, probably 3/4, if not, and you guys might know better, of our economy goes over expressways one way or another in commercial vehicles, right? We'd be no country. We wouldn't have, you didn't have your Amazon package on your front porch, that's for sure, let alone the goods at your local grocery store and all the products we come to rely on if it wasn't for commercial vehicles moving these things. So we're not anti-commercial vehicles, just the opposite. We just want to keep the roads safe because they also are a lot of inertia running down the roads with that. But so we have a unit, but the unit's not designed anything but to keep us safe on the roads, but also support our commercial drivers out there that we love and we use every day. So with that being said, we just got a couple of deputies that have been doing this for a little longer than others and not, but understanding what the commercial vehicle inspection unit is. So Mark, why don't you start out with a quick introduction of yourself? You guys didn't know which way I was going to go with that, did you?
I'm Deputy Mark Sanfilippo. I started here in the Sheriff's Office part-time in 2006. I left about a year after, went to RPD for about 2 years. They offered me a full-time job, so I went there. I left there, went to Gates for about a year, and ultimately came back in 2011 to the Sheriff's Office, this time full-time.
That's great. Great to have you back.
Thank you.
Came out with the Sheriff's Office in 2006 in the Jail Bureau. Worked afternoons for about 2 years. Came out to the road in 2008. Worked afternoons with the Sheriff's Office till about 2016. Did day shift in 2016 and 2018, then became an inspector with the commercial vehicle unit in 2018.
18, huh? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Mark, how long have you been doing it?
It'll be 5 years.
Oh, really? Fantastic. That's a lot of experience.
Yes, sir.
Going across the board. So I kind of introduced that, the need for commercial vehicles, the need to move products across our way of life wouldn't be our way of life if we didn't have those awesome people out there that work hard. And on the other side is there's a safety aspect that, especially in our highways and our roads. So in generality, why would a sheriff's office or any other law enforcement entity invest into a commercial vehicle unit? Could you sum that up for the public? So why do we have this?
Sure. Yeah, so back, 1992, the unit started with Deputy Joe Bender, who's kind of a legend in our unit. It was CFR 49 came around. It's been around since the 40s, but it became a much bigger thing with what's called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. That was actually started in 2000. They just said, hey, we need to find a way to enforce a nationwide thing because you could go to Florida, get a commercial driver's license, drive all over the country. Their safety protocols just weren't there.
Right.
So the federal government jumped in and said, hey, we need to make something across the boards. So that's when the Sheriff's Office, the New York State Police, developed units to enforce this federal law and got codified in the New York State VNT, and that's why we started enforcing it. Like you said, commercial vehicles are the backbone. We know the backbone of this society. So as this unit goes, we're not a ticket-heavy unit. We don't intentionally go out there and go, hey, I'm going to write 15 tickets today. We go out there saying, hey, let's see if we can get any trucks with bad brakes today. Hey, can we go get a bad driver off the road, a suspended driver, anything like that? And our supervisors are very on board with that. So it's actually a very enjoyable unit to be a part of because of that.
Yeah, that's one thing I do like about this. It's not just that role of dealing with the commercial vehicle side of it, but it's that safety aspect. I mean, we talked offline when we were talking and watching some of the videos of just some of the accidents that happen. And I mean, and attribute to you guys trying to take, somewhat take control of it in certain ways by trying to stop these things from happening. And people out there, they need to recognize that's why it's done. That's why units are out such as this to try to, dispel a lot of things like that from happening.
Right.
Yeah, we're certainly trying to prevent a tragedy, and the only way we can really do that is really being proactive in the way we do our things. And we have to go out and inspect, and we have to get these these big trucks off the road before something bad does happen. And that's our lead. That's our real role here, I believe.
With MVAs, I mean, I just have it written here. 83% of all fatal MVAs with these are a pedestrian or a small vehicle motorist. The truck drivers are generally going to be okay.
Right.
And that's where we want to get on top of these truck drivers and say, hey, you got to be safe for everyone else's safety, not just for your own. And I wrote in here, I mean, most of the drivers we deal with will thank us after a stop. It's actually quite shocking for me when you really get some big things. You go, hey man, your brakes were about to fail. We got the following violations here, and they're like, all right, thanks, man.
Ooh.
Like, so it's a surprising interaction often. But yeah.
Yeah, when something goes bad with one of these vehicles, something's gone really bad.
Oh my gosh.
There's no stopping it, and bad brakes is an example. As we joked about the inertia of these things, but the other side is, again, going back to, these are the backbone. I love it. You said the backbone of our society. And a lot of these people put a lot of time and energy, these drivers and these carriers put a lot of time and energy into making their fleet safe and making their drivers safe. And the drivers, to get a CDL is almost getting a doctorate. So it's something they take a lot of pride in. And we don't want people out there that are cheating the system, right? That you have to go through all this extra effort. You have to put all this extra money into your organization to keep your organization, and you got to pay that extra, that cost. And then other people out there screwing the pooch, that's not fair to the people that are doing it right. So,
Yeah.
Even out the playing field of following the law is another point here.
Yeah, it's not fair for these companies who invest so much time and energy and money to do it right. I think that's our most frustrating thing, that you see some of these companies are just cheating and not following the rules.
Right.
It's just like, well, no way. That's the ones we're really trying to go after. It needs to be an even playing field, and everyone needs to understand safety's first with this.
Yeah.
And we make these stops. The line we use is like, this is, hey, to the driver, this is going to be educational. This is an educational stop. Doesn't have to be just enforcement.
Right.
We're here to answer your questions, and we're here to teach you what to look for as a company too. And how many times do we get the driver calling the boss on the phone? That's the first thing. Right? You got to talk to my boss. No problem. And the boss, we're happy to talk to the bosses. They have a million questions. So they finally got us. They got our attention. They're going to take advantage of that. It's like they got a list of questions ready to go.
Right.
Yeah. What do you each enjoy about your role working on this unit? I mean, because a lot of you guys, like you said, you get the thanks, for some certain people, like you just said. But then I'm pretty sure you get the other side where guys are like, that's just like we discussed offline. It's crazy.
It's, for me, it's a challenge every day. And you got to remember, I mean, like you said, to get your CDL is a small doctorate.
Right.
These guys know what they're doing.
Right.
So when I walk up to a truck, I have to be on my A game every time, because I can't just be like, we'll see what happens. It's always, this guy's going to tell me exactly what he's got going on. He's going to tell me exactly and I see
Constant test of knowledge.
And I see that with hazmat. I went through hazardous material training, and that was unbelievably hard at school. But I'll say, I pull over most of these hazardous material drivers, and I say, come teach me. What do you got back here? What are we working with here? And they can rifle off things great. And the education and just the challenge every day, I find to be like the most enjoyable thing we do.
And that's, you guys do intentional educational programs, whether proactive inspections like you're doing with the county vehicles here and some of this B-roll, but the other side of it is classes, right? I mean, people call up and say, hey, I got this company, we got a fleet of 15 vehicles. Why don't we just do it in a proactive mode? Why don't you come on out and do a presentation for us? What are you guys looking for so we can fix it now in the parking lot as opposed to finding you on the side of 490 one day?
Right on.
Very common thing, safety meetings with tons of companies.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Builds a good relationship.
Absolutely.
Because when you'll stop those trucks on the road, they'll recognize
They'll know
you.
you, yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool, we got that like off our plate of just like this tension between driver versus cop kind of thing. And it's like, oh, I recognize this guy. Hey, you taught us at Rubber. I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
That's
all right,
awesome.
we're gonna go over here. We're gonna do an inspection, and it's more laid back.
That's good.
And you'll see in here where we crawl underneath these trucks.
Yeah.
it can get a little scary, especially if the driver's a little bit on edge. But if you know the driver, you know the company, you know the boss, you're like, all right, hey, we're good. We're just going to crawl underneath. We're going to check to make sure your brakes are working. You're going to have a nice day. And it's definitely, to be known in the industry is helpful. A lot of guys know my predecessor. They'll come up to me, hey, what happened to Mike? Hey, where is he? I'm like, oh, he's over in K9 now. Oh, tell him I said hi. It's just and during a traffic stop, they'll say stuff like that. So it's good to have that kind of be out and about in the community and everything along those lines.
Not just from our personal knowledge. I mean, like when I look at things like a lot of accidents that happen when the guys get caught up under the overpass or whatever, things like that. A lot of, not to make fun of it, but a lot of those routes, they're usually mapped out, as far as I can figure.
Yeah, no, they are. I think occasionally, though, if drivers are just following GPS, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Can't always do that.
Right, exactly.
Usually there's plenty of warning telling you about a bridge coming up. So, you have to pay close attention to those signs because they're not lying.
And like you said, a lot of the vehicles that they're handling that are out there, and you guys, these are huge rigs, man. I mean, and the height of these things are ridiculous.
I mean, federal law requires them to be 13.6. All bridges have to be 13.5 feet. So all trucks have to be under that. So it's generally on the driver. They leave their bed up. They put something in their bed too big. They leave the boom of the truck up. Issues along.
Leave the bed of a dump truck up.
Take
out some telephone poles.
Unfortunately, I was there for the Rush Henrietta 15 telephone pole day. That was a long day. But
spider webs of power lines.
Oh my God!
And it happens shockingly often. These drivers just, they're busy. They're running back and forth, and they're just, slips their mind once.
And that's another part of your educational program. If you're out there and they're aware of you, they're just double checking themselves, right? And they're going through their safety protocols in their head because we're humans, right? That humans make mistakes. So going back to the bridge thing, because I'm laughing. I mean, I worked for the city police department for years. It was once a month St. Paul would come in, right? And like, how can there be another truck stuck under St. Paul? So in the county, I'm not that aware. I mean, I've seen some great B-roll here. Is there a couple of famous bridges out in the county that I should know about that are always
Brockport. Oh yeah, bridge that always gets hit. Bayard Road, Marsh
Bayard Road.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's tight.
We could call the city.
Probably with a couple of those, let alone the height.
We work very closely with the city. We get called from their traffic unit all the time. Hey, can you come take a look at this truck with us?
That's awesome.
So the tow agency that works with them that covers that area, they have become professionals.
Yeah,
they can unload one of those trucks and yank it out, and it's unbelievable to watch actually.
And there's a ticket for that, I'm assuming.
Over height. Anything over 13.6, you got to have a
Simple
permit for, and they permit. If you go to the state, or you technically have to go to the county too, and say, hey, I need to carry a 14-foot load, a 15-foot load. They'll map it out for you.
Oh,
and
really?
say these are the bridges you can go under. These are the power lines you can go under.
Right.
It's expensive, but I mean, there's companies that do that all the time. So
interesting.
Can I make you real quick? Do you guys stay beefed up on any changes of different road laws out there? Because of the fact that, like you said, you'll pull a guy over, and they know what they're trying to do. They know what they're trying to talk about. They're trying to either go along with the program, let it all go good, or they're trying to snowball you. So that in effect, that takes a lot of wearing on you guys to stay ahead of the curve and stay ahead of what's out there. Any changes in law or anything like that.
So every year we have in-service with the Sheriff's Office, and we also have in-service with New York State DOT. So we have to spend 8 hours a year just going over what changed.
Yeah.
And
So there's always changes.
we get the
Constant changes.
V&T law, which very minor changes usually in New York State, but then we have the federal law. It's called CFR 49.
Right.
That's the book we live and die by. It's a big old thick green book, and it changes every year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The same exact law. They'll come out and say, "Hey, we looked at the interpretation of this. Turns out we're going to enforce it differently," and you're like,
They just learned it.
And so did the public. They just learned it that way. Yeah.
So there you go. Educational stuff yet again.
Yeah.
Wait, you just told us this. Oh, it changed.
Sorry.
I mean, one of the wildest ones, when you first go through this school, you take a 1-week course on just logbooks. And they are
a week you're studying
a
logbooks.
full week.
I didn't realize that.
And it
That's
is
pretty intense.
absolute, and I still don't understand them. It is just, to this day, we talked about it with if they made us go back to that school, would we pass?
Right.
You know, it's
Oh, yeah,
that hard
I
of a
imagine.
school, and
Just the logbooks.
yeah,
Really?
because we have to forensically look at them. So people will
Okay.
try to fake things, will
Right.
try to do things. So they're like, hey, you got to backtrack their whole trip, figure out if they were telling
Oh,
the
actually
truth
do the math
here.
and-
Yeah, do
yeah.
the math. Try to find where they got gas and things like it's.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting. That was the hardest thing that I did in this unit,
Yeah,
other
same.
than hazmat, and
Wow.
it's just.
So a great segue. I was going to ask you about hazmat. You mentioned it earlier in our conversation. If you had to estimate of the commercial vehicles going up and down our expressways just here in Monroe County, how many are carrying a hazardous material? I mean, how often is there hazmat going through our city of Rochester or through the town of Henrietta up on 390 and
That's interesting.
that big turn, 395, 90 with the wind blowing?
The big things, like, it's probably 10-20%, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
It's the things that people don't think about. So like landscapers.
Yeah, I was gonna say fertilizer.
Or those repair trucks that come to fix the bigger trucks. They all have acetylene tanks. They have all these tanks on them that, as a police officer, when people would get into an accident, it never even dawned on
Cross
me.
your mind,
Then
yeah.
firemen would show up and be like, oh man, they got nitrogen, they got all this stuff on board. And then you go through school, you go, wow, that could have gone really bad if this had fallen over. But yeah, as far as like the big tanker trucks, things like that, 10-20%, but the damage they can do, because just the weight alone of one of those trucks, 110, 120,000 pounds,
Right.
is almost impossible to stop in the time you would need if an emergency happened. But like I said, I'm always impressed when I stop these hazardous materials drivers. They always know what they're doing. They got everything in line. They teach me something every time about
good.
it. So I will say hazmat is the least of my worries.
Interesting.
I get through my inspections and go along my way. It's the dump trucks that unfortunately people get in the business with the idea of making money and not get in the business with, hey, how am I going to do this safely? And that's where we find our biggest problem.
Time is money with them, so they're running, they're hustling.
Yeah.
And then you tend to cut corners there, and the wear and tear on dump trucks. It's a work truck. This isn't just a clean black truck going down the road that's carrying bubble wrap. These are dump trucks, man. They're carrying a lot of weight and a lot of dirty stuff, and
Yeah, it wears on the vehicle.
sure does.
And it's crazy about that too, is that you don't think about it, but when you get a radio call with a commercial vehicle involved, you're thinking of fatalities.
Yeah, it's your first thing.
Yeah, because I mean,
I know.
it's got to be the first thing.
Yeah.
We've been unbelievably lucky this year. We keep saying it. I mean, we had a tractor trailer into a house.
Knock on something.
What?
Cut a
Knock on
house.
something.
I just did.
Thank you. I know where you're going.
Cut a house right in half
Wow.
earlier today,
Yeah. It
earlier
was
this
unbelievable.
year. And we've just had a bunch of really close calls. And every time we walk up, we're like, they survived?
Can't believe it.
Wow. All right. We won one today.
That one you're indicating, I can't believe, it was utterly incredible. It's like,
Yeah. It was that week
a
was a
lot of
bad
force.
week.
Yeah.
that was a tough one, but certainly when I first joined the unit, I remember one of my good friends who I went through the academy with and everything. He said he goes, nothing feels better than when I get a truck crash to hear the commercial vehicle guys get on the
Exactly.
unit saying, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Because he goes, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so
and
I-
you also do the MVA report form, right?
Yep,
Well,
yep.
that's always good.
Exactly.
Always good to have you around, too.
Exactly.
I'll do the toe slip, you do the rest. That's not a bad day.
And we're always looking for impairment drivers, so they love to take that off their plate. And we love to help the road guys out because they're busy.
Right.
I can take an MVA and I can sit down for a couple hours and work my way through this. The road guys, I worked the road for 12 years. You don't have that
It's
time.
our sole responsibility,
Yeah.
So we take
Yeah.
pride in that. And
Yeah.
We try to do the best we can, and some road guys, I think, know that, appreciate that. We can't be at every single one every time, but I think,
Unless we get a new guy.
yeah.
Well,
I call that a pitch.
right. Well, let's hope that the amount of guys that you find out there that that was drinking or anything like that is a very low number, I would guess, because like I said, that deals with them with their employment and anything else. And they're out on the road, so that's what they look at as their livelihood. So I don't think that number would be that high, only because these guys want to keep that livelihood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I certainly try to start my interaction with the driver as I know this is your livelihood, and I'm not trying to interrupt that. I'm not trying to cause any issues with that. So I'm going to just try to get through this, and like I said, it'll be an educational stop if we find something. If not, move along the way. And
we
have a
both
nice
have a
day.
job to do. We We have to. We can bro hug and shake hands, but
Yeah.
there's a point where there's a
needs to
line
be
in the
enforcement.
sand, and
Because people sometimes refuse or forget, right? And the forget, we can forgive once in a while, but if you keep on forgetting, then having the expertise and the knowledge like you guys do, it can remind them then with maybe an enforcement action, but it's not the intent. But the education part is huge because it's always changing. Like you said, you go to yearly in-service. I don't know if every CDL person gets yearly in-service to keep up with the law changes. So you might be the only opportunity for the educational piece they're going to get. With that being said, are you guys DREs, drug recognition experts? No?
No.
Just
I've done A-RIDE.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I haven't gone all the way to DRE yet.
Yeah, I think you got enough specialties. We got enough certificates. If we ever get you that third guy, we'll get him DRE.
there we go.
There you go.
Yes.
There we go.
Perfect.
If we're going to talk hypothetical, I'm going to talk hypothetical. That's awesome. So, I didn't realize this until we started rolling the B-roll right before we started the pictures up here that the county has a huge fleet of commercial vehicles. And so you guys are out there proactively with our own people, our own county brothers and sisters.
They'll call us pretty often.
Sure.
Call in the office and say, "Hey, we're looking at buying this trailer with this truck. Can a Class D driver drive this?" Or
That's awesome.
And so we try to work hand in hand with them. And they actually put on a school every few months to get their drivers up on a commercial driver's license. And we just happened to find out about that, so they think we're going to start attending it and just do a little teaching there. Hey, this is what we're looking for when we pull you over, and what the troopers are looking for, and all that stuff.
That's great.
That's something because within the last couple months, just talking to people out there, and I've ran across a lot of guys that said they were thinking about driving truck, getting on the road. You know what I mean? And that pertains to a lot of you guys out there, and it's the fact that they got to know these guys are out here to try to help you, and not just help you, help the community. These other people that are around you driving, and just go with the program, and it works out for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we get calls too, and that's part of our job, which is great. We get calls from the community all the time. Dump trucks are going too fast down the road. We're gonna go target that.
Or people throwing stone off the back of their truck on my road and hit my windshield. Actually, one of my dream jobs upon retirement is a long haul CDL guy. Right? I'm an introvert. I love seeing the country. I don't mind driving one bit. It's always been like this dream. I don't mind driving between here and San Diego for over a couple day haul, and and seeing the world. It's like, and no one bugs you. It's like, until the commercial vehicle unit pulls you over. No one's bugging you. But even then, if you develop a relationship, do everything right. It's like, hey, deputy, how you doing? Let's get this over with and make it part of the operational plan. But it's just weird that we've had this podcast scheduled because it's one of the things I always think I could be good at that.
You get some quirky personalities on these stuff.
Are you calling me quirky? Because that's what I want to do. I understand where you're going with that. No, but an introvert. I'm naturally, my job is I'm an extrovert in my job, but really, personally, I'm an introvert. And to go hiking for 3 days by myself is it's actually relaxing, right? So
sometimes.
you get paid. Make good money too. I mean, these guys are making solid money. They earned it.
You'll find
you might see me do that in retirement.
You'll find they talk your ear off.
Oh yeah.
You pull them in and they're like, "I'm coming from Texas," and they'll tell you the whole story.
the
and
whole
you're just like, I'm the first person you've talked to in a couple of weeks. I don't know.
Poor guy.
Oh my God,
that's awesome. That's awesome. But and then I go back to my youth days, the Smokey and the Bandit thing. It definitely got me interested. Like it's a different way of life. And moving product from point A to point B. I'm in hot pursuit of a homicidal maniac. I'm sorry. We digress. So if there's anything we could share with the public about what you guys do, I think it's about the safety part of it and the education part. But, if there's anything we could share with the commercial driver's license folks in the community of these people that are keeping the backbone of our way of life, and it's just getting more and more with the Amazons of the world. There's vehicles flying all over. I don't know how many of those are CDLs or not. But so what would be the message we want to get out to the community that drives these? It keeps us moving as Americans, and we couldn't do without them by any means.
Be respectful both ways.
Right.
When we stop you, I know we just disrupted your schedule, right? These
Time
guys
is
are,
money for 'em,
yeah,
right?
they're, they didn't get up that day and plan on us stopping them and checking everything. And a lot of these guys take these trucks personally. I mean, it's their truck.
Point. Yeah, good point.
It's their office space. It's their home. It's their truck, right? So when we're diving around this thing under and on top and peeking in the cab, and it's their private area too, So you'd be a little hesitant someone taking a look in your house, right? I mean, a stranger just walking in and saying, let me just make sure everything's okay in here, well, all right, but, remember, this is my space, so.
Great point.
There's that. So we understand that, we try to be respectful for that. And so it works both ways, talk to us nicely, we'll talk to you nicely. And again, we have a procedure here. Just follow the procedure. Don't step ahead. When we're telling you to do something, please do it at that time. We are underneath these trucks. You know what I mean? So the last thing we need you to do is turn the truck on when we're underneath that, or jerk the truck forward and scare the crap out of us. So just follow directions, stay calm. We're cool. You're cool. We'll get through it together. And even worst case, we have to put you out of service. We'll still work with you. If your company can come get your own truck, great. Maybe we don't have to tow it, and all that kind of stuff. So if we can keep it rolling, we certainly will. There is a line in the sand. If you're out of service, you're out of service. We understand that, it's huge liability on us. If that truck is red tagged and it goes down the road and you get in an accident,
Kills a family of 4.
this is all recorded. They know exactly Deputies Sanfilippo stopped that truck an hour and a half ago. Even in another state. 'Cause remember, this software we have, I can see when a Pennsylvania state trooper did an inspection last on this vehicle. It doesn't matter if that truck was in Texas. I can see if a Texas highway, so this is all together.
Wow.
So it's a great tool. So we know if, that truck is supposed to be out of service, or, hey, 2 weeks ago he had trouble with this. Did he correct it or not?
Right.
So, and if you didn't correct it, there's, again, depending on the out of service book, that truck may have to be out of service, So we have to do that. There's some things we just have to do. So understand that, That's all. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, along those lines, when you go to the first school, they talk about Trooper Kniff, who was a Troop T trooper, who a Ontario Provincial Police OPP
Canada
officer stopped, said, talk to this guy, and the guy's logbook was a mess, and the trooper's like, hey, just fix it, but head down the road. The guy ended up killing the trooper in an accident about 6 hours later. The OPP was fired, facing all sorts of liability, and they just say, do you want that to be your partner? Do you want that to be you? So they always tell us that. So just that's one of those like sobering moments of take this serious. Take this serious with these guys.
Lives depend on it,
And,
including the driver.
Right.
Including the driver of the vehicle. Listen, great educational program. Appreciate what you guys do for a living in the sheriff's office and keeping our roads safe with hazardous material running up and down the road. When we get an accident that's confusing for everybody, it's nice to. I've heard them before. You guys showing up and like, we got this covered. We got an expertise at the plate for this up the bat here. So that's great to have you guys with that expertise. I didn't realize you had that many combined years of expertise. So that's something I learned new today.
Yeah.
This
This was something new to me as well. I always see the truck on the side of the road, and I'm like, what did he do?
What did you do?
But, and now I know, you know what I mean? And a lot of the public, like you said, it has to be educated as to what's going on, and that helps new drivers, and some of these drivers has more experience.
So when you see a marked pickup truck.
we actually got rid of the pickup.
Oh, you did? No longer?
We're normal
You undercover now?
SUVs.
Like a UC car?
We're blending right in.
It is funny when the pickup truck would pull up. Truck drivers knew what to do.
Yeah.
Now I pull up. I'm like, hey, can I get your logbook? And they're like, oh no. Like, they're not as
I
prepared
thought
for
you were
us.
just a regular
Yeah.
deputy.
Or if they
There's
see
our
that ball.
cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
If they
didn't
see
know
that,
I got to keep up with current events with the sheriff's office. I didn't know we got rid of the pickup truck.
yeah, if they see that ball cap come on, it's
Yeah, that ball cap gives it away now.
That's a giveaway.
Like, damn it.
That's that giveaway right there.
Yeah, we're supposed to wear those in overhead environments, so we're not just wearing them all willy
I think you
nilly.
should wear hard hats. It's pretty
Hey.
Just saying.
Yeah, we got
Just saying.
those
I
too.
think
We
I'll
got
make that
those.
suggestion. It's uniform appearance, general order. Back at you. So listen, we finished up with you had to come back.
I was just saying, I couldn't imagine walking in the zone with a hard hat on. I don't think I would ever.
Oh, it'll be a bright color too for
yeah,
safety.
yeah.
Safety. It'll be really
I don't know if I'd ever live that one down.
because we care about your safety on that one. So we finished up with a thing called the No Miranda Zone. Miranda means you got the right to remain silent on the sheriff. You don't have the right to remain silent, so you got to ask the questions. We throw you a couple softballs to get you warmed up. So, favorite vacation spot you ever been to?
Probably Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Pretty boring.
Yeah.
At 18, 19, 20, or?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay,
I've been to
God.
Costa Rica,
We'll
been
leave it
some
at
other
that.
places, but yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Costa Rica, that's on we've been, Costa Rica and Panama, we've been talking about those two. Like, we got to get to the Central America world.
Definitely an amazing place to go.
Yeah, everybody says the
absolutely.
same thing. Cheap, too.
Yeah.
Panama was.
Cop's budget.
Cops budget.
Cops budget. Beautiful. Favorite vacation spot? All time?
St. Petersburg, Florida. Yeah, my mom's got a place in West Palm too, so
really?
that's been something new that we've explored. That side of Florida, that's great. I mean, who doesn't love Florida?
Oh,
Come on.
absolutely.
It's great.
Absolutely.
Sunshine,
February,
you know.
February in Florida is
It's awesome.
no brainer.
Yeah.
Name an artist you'd like to see in concert but haven't yet.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor Swift. I like Travis. I like Travis Kelce. Yeah, that would actually.
That's
be,
it. That's the answer. Yeah, we're going with that. We're going with that. That's
All right. So I gave him a softball or the answer.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I'd like to see Kenny Chesney again. I
Yeah?
think. Yeah, and I'd like to see him in Florida again. We saw him.
Oh,
in,
really?
Yeah, we saw him in Tampa, and it was quite a different experience. We saw him up at Darien and C-Mac. But
It was
to see
two
him
different
in Florida,
experiences, really?
Yeah, oh, totally.
I never thought about
yeah,
that.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, the crowds in Florida. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just the weather, and it was great. That was a lot of fun.
I seen Dirk Bentley in Red Rocks.
Okay.
Best venue to watch a concert ever.
Yeah.
It's just in
Oh, yeah?
Colorado. Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty cool. Is that it? Those are softballs?
Yeah, I figured I'd give him
they get
something,
harder.
but I do
Favorite
like
color or something?
So,
Oh yeah.
outside of New York State vehicle traffic, what's your favorite book?
Honestly,
A green thick book.
no, a book that I absolutely love. That's not a very popular one. It's called King of Torts, which is it's just a book about a lawyer that kind of comes up and wins a bunch of lawsuits, kind of cheating, and
Interesting.
it's
King
a
of Torts,
it's
yeah.
a weird book I got assigned to in college, and I absolutely hated reading in college,
Right.
and I sat down and read this book, and then I just couldn't read enough books
Wow.
after it. It was just a
Interesting.
great book.
That's great.
I liked William Queen is an ATF agent, and the book is called Under and Alone.
Okay.
It's neat, and he infiltrates the Mongols.
Oh, it's Undercover World.
And
Yeah.
it's just wild. The stories are awesome. I mean, you think you're a cop until you read some of those
Yeah,
stories.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, oh man,
Yeah, you-
all right.
You're like, I haven't done anything
Whoa,
in my career.
yeah. It's been an easy 18. Oh man.
Initiations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, gentlemen, thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better. Pleasure to share your craft
Thank
with
you.
our community. And until next week, folks, be safe.